Introduction to Cloud Computing, Web Conferencing, and Collaboration. One of the biggest complaints companies have is getting people together that are not co-located in the same area. I mean, think about it. You have telecommuters, folks with mobility handicaps, team members living in different countries. To get them together for a meeting can be a real chore. Plus, how many times have you seen people try to take notes and follow up? Well, cloud computing has had a solution that's been out there for years, web conferencing. That's what we're going to take a look at in today's CBT Nugget. I love web conferencing. I've used it for years, in fact, over a decade. And I've done it for presentations, like with John Chambers of Cisco at one point, where I was here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he was there in LA at Cisco Networkers. I've done it for the virtual instructors, all kinds of cool things. And so I love this CBT Nugget we're going to do. First off, I'm going to tell you why you might want to use it, especially if you're an IT guy and you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I utilize the cloud for my benefit. We'll tell you some of the good benefits of web conferencing. Then we're going to do a demo. Now, I've chosen Cisco's WebEx as one to show to you. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't like Microsoft Live or iLink or Citrix GoToMeeting or anything of those others. They're all good. You need to pick the one that fits you. I'm just using WebEx because it has most of the basic interfaces that you're going to see on everything else, and things like voice over IP, video conferencing, whiteboards, application sharing, document sharing, and desktop sharing. And so those are some of the things that we're going to look at. Then I'll show you a slide with some other options listing some of the other web conferencing that you can choose, as at least as of the recording of this CBT Nugget. The first question many people ask is, why would we want to use web conferencing anyway? Well, before we show the 4 things that are here on the screen, think about this. It used to be that companies like Placeware and WebEx were their own companies providing web conferencing. But eventually, Microsoft purchased Placeware, and it became what is known as Microsoft Live. Cisco bought out WebEx. They kept the name because it had a good name to it, but all of these major companies, IBM bought out one, Adobe bought out one, and so they use these web conferencing capabilities, which have video, audio, using voice over IP, as well as application sharing, desktop sharing, even document editing capabilities. And so, number one, it gives you all the capabilities that you would have in perhaps your local area network that you're doing, but now you can do it on the cheap. For number one, you're going to be saving a lot on your travel expenses. Instead of having to fly in consultants to come in for meetings, or maybe, if you have somebody working from home and they have to get dressed and come in just for this meeting, well, that might not be the best thing. You can save on the travel expenses. It does allow for collaboration, group collaboration. You can open up a document and everyone can see it. You can share somebody's desktop out, share an application, see how things work, and you can allow anyone in the group or maybe nobody in the group to be able to do that. It's also good for remote desktop support. Now, Citrix, of course, has GoToMyPC, and of course it's more advanced formats that you guys have taken from some of our CBT Nuggets. Now, but maybe for a smaller company and you don't have the money to buy something like a Citrix or do something like that, utilizing something like WebEx or Microsoft Live, and some of them, does allow you to do remote desktop support. You can log in and then give people permission to use that, and both people can see the screen. It's another way that you can use it. Plus, what I love, 24/7 access. Because if you have companies that have global reach, and you have people in India, you have people in Europe, and you have people in Africa or South America, and you're here in the United States, well, it makes sense that you now have access during a time when they're awake. Maybe you have to stay up. Or you can even record your presentation and make it available as a link on a website. So people, if they miss the sales meeting for the week, hey, go on out to the sales site, click on the meeting, and it'll open up in a little browser and they can view it. So web conferencing, very powerful, and one of the cool things you can do in cloud computing. Probably the first thing you're going to want to do is at least check out some of the many web collaboration or web conferencing tools that are out there. And the good news is, whichever one you are thinking about checking out, whether it's WebEx, whether it's iLink, whether it's Microsoft Live, whether it's Dialog, Citrix GoToMeeting, and there's a whole bunch of others, you simply just go to the website of that particular collaboration tool. For in our case, since we're demonstrating WebEx for this CBT Nugget, you can go there and you'll notice right here, free trial right there, or you can click down over here. that says that you can take a free trial. Once you click on that, it'll ask you a few pieces of information so they can follow up. Or, for example, one of the other ones that we have recommending is iLink is another good one out there that I've used. And of course, if you scroll right on over here, check this out. Demo, free trial, those kind of things. So again, your mileage may vary on the different types that you're wanting to do, but it's always a good idea to grab a couple, try them out. Most of them will even set you up with some demo accounts, especially if you're really serious about doing this for your company, okay? Now, the one thing you'll do notice is that I've already downloaded some of the productivity tools that come with WebEx. Now, most of these collaboration tools will have them, and you can see up here on my browser, I can instantly share my browser with somebody by sending an email link. It'll then share the browser. They're able to do that. And then WebEx right here, I can start a meeting, start an audio, schedule a meeting, join a meeting, and I've got a lot of tools that I can do right here from the web browser. But of course, if I click down here, you'll notice I have a WebEx one-click. Now this is a great way just to start a meeting on the fly. We'll show you how to schedule one from the Message Center in a little bit, but you go ahead and you double click on this and it opens up the Cisco WebEx one-click interface. This is also can be got to by clicking on Start Programs WebEx, and it's there as well. Okay. Now, two things you can do right here right off is you can of course start a meeting, a one-click meeting. You can join a meeting if somebody else is doing it. You can start a scheduled meeting maybe a little bit early, 10 minutes before, or 20 minutes before the hour. You could do that. You can also schedule meetings, do stuff like that, meet now or meet later. Now, when you start a meeting, you can do one of two things. You can enter your email address of the person you want to invite or the meeting number, or you can simply click Start Meeting. Now, when I click Start Meeting, it's going to go ahead, it's going to open up the WebEx Center, and it's going to open up our meeting, which is going to have all the tools and bells and whistles, and it's going to do a couple of things, as you're going to see here. As I'm talking in the background, it's going to bring it up. One of which, of course, it's going to sign you in. It's also going to start off with a quick start, especially if this is a demo account like mine is. And we can come over here and we can stop the quick start, because what it'll do is actually have somebody go over there talking and doing a couple of things. Of like, here's how you show up. Now look, check this out. Right here in the middle, hello, you can see that you have a video that starts if you have a webcam like I do, so you can see me kind of talking in the back. You can choose whether you want to send your video or not. This is, by the way, for everybody that's on that have a webcam. They can decide whether they want to put the audio, or excuse me, the video or not. Now, the audio conference, what WebEx offers is either their audio conferencing through phone, which you can call in. It's a toll number, so you pay the charges. You don't have to worry about them creating another web conference and then you have to pay, or excuse me, telephone conference, and you have to pay the 1-800 charges and stuff like that. Basically, they figure you can go ahead and just pay the toll to call the WebEx offices there. You have an access code, and then you put in your attendee ID, and then that starts the audio portion. You can also, of course, use your computer, which can be nice. You can call using the computer. It will then go into the voice over IP conference automatically. So you can do one of those two things. So let's take a look at what we have here. First off, we obviously have our meeting that we've started with my Gmail account here. Here's the host, call-in toll numbers, all the things that you have here. This is the info. And over here, this is the, or I should say, the left-hand side is going to be your content pane. Here is where you're going to have the ability to share a document, like a Word document. You can share an application. You can share your desktop. You can even do a whiteboard with all the kind of bells and whistles, and we'll show you how to do those as well. Up above it is, of course, your toolbar, which allows you to do a lot of menu items, your menu toolbar. You can open these things, document, poll questions, chat, save documents, save results, save as. You can transfer files to another user. You can even print off things in meeting. Edit's pretty much the same. You can share presentations, all the content that we talked about, view, how you want to view it, audio, participant, meeting, and then help. All these are, of course, some of them beyond the scope of this CBT Nugget, but just some of them that we're going to look. Now, remember, I don't have anybody coming in. Now, I can invite people by email to my instant meeting using a local email program like Outlook or Lotus. You can also use WebEx, which is typically what I do, because if you don't have your Outlook open, it will then force Outlook to open and then send. You can also, by the way, within Outlook, there's a button and part of the productivity tools that allows you to start meetings as well. So that's why, some people have their Outlook open. You can also come over here and you'll notice your menus. Your menus are going to be on the right-hand side. You have a video menu, you have a chat menu, a participant, and even a notes menu. If you click on notes, you can see how all 4 of them, and then you can just open one at a time as necessary. So here's the participants. Chris Ward, that's me, I'm the host, but I don't have anybody. See here how I can click down here and invite or remind participants? It's the same thing that you saw over here as well. By the way, if you don't want to have something appear, click on it again, and then all of a sudden you'll only have the one open as well. So again, if you click on the video, there's the video. You can click off it and take off of it. And then just simply expand or hide as you want any one of these. And that's kind of neat. So that way you can have open the important parts. Now what we're going to do right now is invite somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the invite right down here. And it's going to go in and open up a window saying, hey, you want to invite somebody? Here's what you're going to need to do. And so when you click on it, and see it's using Outlook right now, you can use that. Or if you click off of this, you can also click down and you can invite by email using WebEx. So here's like, especially if you're on another computer that's not yours and you want to do a meeting, see, because you can do this, remember, cloud computing, anywhere in the world that there's an internet connection. So what we can do is, let me go ahead and invite Mr. CBT Nuggets. And we'll go ahead and send that invite out. Now when I do that, the email has now been sent. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause the recording for just a minute, and then when we come back, we will show you how we now have somebody that is joined. What I'm going to do is step over to my laptop, which is right next to me, and go ahead and open up the email that was sent to Mr. CBT Nuggets and join the meeting. You will then be able to see James, who is under Mr. CBT Nuggets, show up right there. So we'll pause and be right back. Now notice where we are at now. Not only did I invite James here, but I also called in or invited my iPhone. Pretty cool. You can actually join from the iPhone, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in just a second, how that works. And you can see that. But let's just see, now we have, of course, the host of the meeting, which is going to be typically the person that's going to, have the meeting and wants to show things, whatever it is. And so they'll be able to do that. And then, of course, you have participants. The little WebEx ball means that they are a participant. This means that they are a host, and this is a participant. And this means that someone is actually in on a phone coming in, whether it's an iPhone or other web-enabled phone, which is kind of cool, like Droid and other things. But I have an iPhone, so that's what we're going to use. Now check this out. Now what you're going to want to do, obviously, is you can chat with people here. If you want to actually talk with somebody by simply opening up a chat, you can send to all participants or send to just one particular person. So let's say if I want to chat to James, I can say, hey James, how are you? So you can enable this. You can also, this is an option, you can disable the ability for people to chat as well. It just, all depends. And so someone actually said to me, I said privately, so then I can say, well, I want to go ahead and reply back, and I'll say, fine, and I'm over here on my other computer here, so I say fine, and go ahead and send that off, and then boom, you can see it showing right back up here on my screen. So I've got my laptop, just so you understand, running as James, and then my iPhone is running as the actual thing that's happening. Now the nice thing is that you can see that this shows that the phone is actually dialed into the audio conference as well. So that's kind of neat, and that way you can do both at the same time. Works real well. So we got chat, so we saw that. So let's go ahead and also show video. Now here, of course, here is the video for mine. Now my laptop doesn't have a webcam enabled, and of course on the iPhone you don't have the ability to do both, where you can actually send the video as well as anything else. So those are just some things to consider. But of course, anyone who has a web, and you can choose whether you want to send that video or not. You can also make some settings here. If you want to change the bandwidth settings or do anything like that, you click on Set Video Options and it will enable you to do that. You can also set if you want the 1 video window, 2, or you want all 6. It can handle up to 6 people on video. Some of the others, like Citrix and iLink, I do believe allow even more, and they do bandwidth throttling, so your mileage may vary depending on the particular web conferencing. So we'll go ahead and collapse the panel here, come back to the participants so we can see that, and again you have these guys are now in. I'm the host, I've got my phone on, and I got James dialed in on the other. Now here's where you can start doing things like actually sharing a certain document. When you click on that, you can go here, and I could say let's do the materials for the science fair if I want. I click open. It takes just a second to load up. And once it does, it will then place my content in my content area, and people will then be able to see that on all of their screens as well. So just something to think about that. Whether you want to do a document, why would I use a document instead of just share my desktop or share an application? Well, when you put this up, this allows you to mark up and make some notes and do some things on it without actually disturbing the actual file. So in other words, if I take my lines here and I draw a line through it, this is not going to obviously be on my materials for Science Fair document. However, if I did something where I'm actually in the application and I'm demonstrating and I let somebody look at it and they start typing, well, that will actually be saved down to that file. So just something to kind of consider for that. So you have the standard what we call annotation tools. You can click on here and choose whether you want to use a laser pointer, which just you have on here, or you can use the arrows that show you. By the way, the arrow actually has the name of the person who's putting the arrow on here if they're annotating. If you open this up and allow other people to annotate, they can also then add theirs as well. So you can allow other people to utilize the annotation tools whenever you want to do, setting the permissions for anything like that. Or if I want to make James now the presenter, I can make him a presenter, and now the presenter privileges are over here on James, and now James has the ability to then click on one of these arrows and place it down here. So I've got Chris Ward and I have James, and so we have those capabilities. And then if I want to get control back, I can simply click Make Presenter, and then now I am the presenter, and then I can add this. And so we'd take turns maybe in a collaborative meeting. We want to take a look at the document, mark it up, do whatever we need to do. Hey, piece of cake. We just do it right here, and then of course you can print out this particular document before you close it, because when I click close, it's going to say you're going to remove this, and you want to save the current document, which will then show up, and you can then save this and say, well, I'm going to call this for a universal communication format, which is what they do it as, and you can then open that up later on if you want. That's one way of doing it. And then of course you've got the ability to share a particular application. So you need to have that application open. You can click on it, and then that brings in the application window here. You can type in it. If I give control to James or C. Ward, then they would be able to control that application from their location. But pretty much the two most popular uses of web collaboration and conferencing is going to be utilizing share your desktop. So if I go ahead and I click on share my desktop, it's going to go ahead and bring up right here, as you can see, I'm now sharing my desktop, and I can have a little floating window. This is the stop button, which will stop it and return back to the meeting. I can pause for a second, so that way if I'm showing something and then in the background, let's say I want to open up something or close something or do something different, nobody will see that because I've frozen or kind of like screenshot that for a second. You can also select which content that you can share so people can look at it. You can also pass and assign control. So if I assign control right here, it says I can make someone James a presenter, or I can allow him to control my desktop, and James can kind of raise his hand and say, hey, I want to do this, or allow to annotate. Notice if you are using the iPhone application, you don't have these tools to control the desktop or do that, but you can view in this particular one, and I'll actually show this to you here in just a second. Then of course you can, if you want to, you can also bring up the different tabs. the annotation, the participant, the chat, or the video. So if I open up the video right here, you'll notice, and by the way, this does not show up on the rest of the screen. People don't see this. It's kind of ghosted out into the background. Tells me I'm sharing my desktop. But I want to show you here as well as I can on my iPhone here. And you can kind of see right there, let me get close enough, you can see that on my iPhone, there it is, I've got my, my content is being shared out right now, right here on the iPhone. So people are on their iPhones are able to see exactly what I'm doing here on the screen. Pretty cool. You can of course close and take these out, minimize the panel if you want, and then of course once you're done sharing, and then of course if you open up, you can open up your programs and people will then see them. They can do that. You can actually, share out anything that's on your desktop. People will be able to see that in real time. The nice thing about the iPhone, by the way, is when you turn it on its side, it actually shows up in the landscape mode, and so you can see more desktop. Kind of cool, isn't that? So let's go ahead and stop sharing the desktop. Once that does it, it pops it on back here, and we're then once again into our collaboration zone. Content over here if we need it. The other thing, of course, is the ability to share a whiteboard. Sometimes you're just talking about things. We've got all the tools that we talked about earlier. You got these. You can actually put text on the screen and type in, this is the most important tool in an instructor's toolkit. We love whiteboards as instructors, don't we? We can, annotate, we can mark up, we can, do all kinds of fun things on here and, make sure people can use it. You can draw boxes, and you can change, of course, the color, whatever color you want. They've got the basic colors here, blue, and set things up. And you can draw and make things. And again, this is just a way for you to get together out on the cloud with a whole bunch of other people, whether it's for training, whether it's for remote desktop use, whether it's for a special presentation in your company. If everybody has a collaborative tool, such as WebEx or iLink or Microsoft Live, you're going to find that all of them have these basic whiteboard, sharing the desktop, application, and even document tools that enable you to then, of course, be able to group collaborate out there on the cloud. So now that we've shown you the interfaces and how they work, and again, whatever tool you use, there's going to be that same basic functionality. Now let's show you how you can perhaps schedule a actual meeting. I mean, this was one that you can do instantly, which WebEx allows you to do, and several others do, called Meeting on Demand or Instant Meeting, things like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and close out of this meeting. Now watch what happens when I do that. Before you can do that, and if I hit close here, it's going to say, are you going to end this meeting in audio conference? We can say no and then come back, which if you do, you hit no, it will actually make whoever the next attendee is the host, and then you can leave meeting. But we're going to go ahead and say yes. Now it's going to ask me, what would I like to save? Remember we had those shared documents I did, any chat that I have, anything like that. You can then of course save it to wherever you need to go. We'll say no, we're not going to save any of this, and it says you have not sent a transcript for this meeting to the attendee. So if you have a transcript of the audio, this is also nice. And then attach the meeting data and files. You can do that as well. So we'll say, do we want to send it? We'll say no, and that will then close it out, and our meeting will have concluded. So here we went ahead and logged into the WebEx Meeting Center. Everyone who has an account will have one. We're of course using the free trial to show you what you'll see when you check it out and try it out. And over here on the left-hand side is where you're going to have your navigation panel, where you can attend a meeting, just join an unlisted meeting. You can host meetings, set up your preferences. In fact, you just click on the down arrow here. We'll see that here you can set up your meeting center preferences, the standard preferences for the meetings you do, certain things for your profile like your username and account and information like that. If you need any help, of course, they've got the support down here, which is kind of nice. But we'll go ahead and close this out. What we want to do is show you how to schedule a meeting. And here again, you just click the arrow and it brings down your options. You can schedule a meeting. You have My Meetings, which are ones that have already been scheduled and assigned to you. You've got the one-click meeting, which we did Remember when we were down here, we clicked on that. And then, of course, there are my recorded meetings. Most web collaboration tools, WebEx being one of them, allow you to record your presentations, and then you can save them as a URL, as a web link, and then, put it in your email or put it up on your website, and it will link to this recorded meeting, and then someone can click on it and they can just play it right there in their own web browser. It's kind of cool. So this is an option that many of those web collaboration tools have, whether it's Microsoft Live or iLink or Dialog or GoToMeeting or any of them. But let's go ahead and schedule a meeting. We're going to click on Schedule a Meeting. It's going to bring up the interface over here in our content area that allows us to go in and say, hey, we want to do a meeting, but we're going to schedule it a little bit later on. Now here, a lot of you wondering, where did you get those really cool productivity tools, the little ball down here and going down there and being able to come up even here onto the web link bar here? Well, all you do is you install the productivity tools. And that's a rather simple do. So we'll go ahead and close that meeting. Now, you have the different ways of doing things. A basic meeting, just to set up a meeting, have someone meet you here, can be done in the Schedule a Meeting. If you want to do some advanced meeting options, you can go ahead and click Advanced Scheduler, and it will give you a lot more options that you can do. You can set up meeting passwords, confirm it. You can then go, in fact, we'll call this the CBT Nugget presentation. Okay. You can decide whether you want to delete it from the meetings when you're done with it. So we can do that. Now, meeting password, we'll put in, you guys can know this, Nuggets as our password. Okay, once you're done with that, you can either start now and it'll do the basics, or you go to the next. When the next moves you down any one of these areas: the date and the time, the audio conference, inviting, registration, agenda and welcome, meeting options, attendee privileges, and then review before you go. So we'll go ahead and click next, which will then move us down to date and time. Now it tells you that this is the San Francisco time because, again, where's Cisco? San Jose. So you can change that, though, basically by selecting this and saying, I want to do it Mountain Time, so I know exactly what time. So let's say we wanted to schedule a meeting for April 27th, 2010, 10 o'clock a.m. sounds good, and you can say, well, attendees can join 5 minutes before start time. Yeah, that sounds good. Or you can make it 10 minutes. Or they can't start it until you actually have it starting at 10 o'clock. They can only log in after 10 o'clock. And sometimes that's good for if you're going to be practicing with your presenters beforehand in the interface. That can be used. But 5 minutes, or you can say 10 minutes. And then, of course, you want the attendees to connect to WebEx audio if you're going to do the audio conferencing, so you'll select that. Now, how long do you think it's going to be? Now, remember, this is estimated duration. That doesn't mean that you can't go past the 1 hour. But this kind of helps you, remind you, and it'll tell you that you're running past your hour. Do you want to continue? Email reminder 15 minutes before. I don't trust that. I give everyone 30 minutes at least notice. You can do it recurrence, none, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, all those selections. So we go ahead, we click next, and off we go into the audio conferencing. Now, audio conferencing is the type of audio. Now, remember, WebEx includes as part of it a toll bridge that you can dial into, or as a computer you can get into with voice over IP. Now, of course, you can use another teleconference service, or you can say, look, the only way people can access this is through voice over IP, or none. If you don't want to do that, if it's just a recording that you're going to do on your own, you would just click none, and then you would record your own audio to it. But we would say, yeah, WebEx audio sounds good. Now, there's one thing that I just personally think is annoying, is the beep when people come in and out, or announce name. I'd say no tone. I don't want people making a lot of noise as they come in. That can kind of disrupt the flow of the presentation. Here's where you can go and select attendees. And when you click select attendees, it goes to your contacts list in Outlook or to your mail program to find it. Or we can say, you know what, we're going to invite Mr. CBT Nuggets at gmail.com. Only person we're going to invite, okay? You can request that they go and check their browser so they can play the things, and then, of course, send a copy of the invitation email to me to make sure it went out. You can exclude the password from the email invitation. That means you're going to have to either give them a call or maybe send it in a separate email. Or do you want the people to have an account on your WebEx meeting center? In other words, for your account. If you don't, then people from outside your organization can't join. Okay, and that's one of the things you can do. All right, we go ahead and go over there and click next. Off we are into registration. Do you want the attendees to register? If you require them to register, you must turn off the options to let them join it before the host. And so what they'll do is they're going to have to register, and then they'll get an email. So that's something that you might want to think about. And then you can come down here and say first name, last name. You need to give me all this stuff. Do you automatically accept all registration requests, or when you click this, it will then send you an email saying, Bob Jones wants to attend your meeting. Do you want to let him? And you have to click, and then it will send that information. But we'll go ahead and say none. No registration is required for this. People can just come in and attend because we all love everything that's going on. Now, of course, you can type in what the agenda is. If you want to add any more info tab templates, remember that was the information that comes up at the top and then also at the bottom of your environment. Now, automatically share the presentation, so you can have it where it starts automatically, and you can put like a little PowerPoint slide that says, hey, welcome to CBT Nuggets. Here's some of the latest and greatest titles out by Jeremy Chara, by Michael Shannon, and everybody else. And show a picture of Jeremy and his Cisco stuff. And you can do that. Kind of neat. You can set it to start automatically. When do you want to advance each page? Do you want to let the participants control the presentation or document? Things like that. Quick start, of course, to the host at the start of the meeting. This is that little video that the young, lovely lady there, I do believe, goes and tells you how to use it. I think everyone's going to know how to do that. So we come back over here, click Next, and off we go to the meeting options. Now the options here are what do you allow the participants to have when the meeting begins. Now understand, you can always during the presentation hand over control as a presenter, or you can add these capabilities at any point. Single point video is when you just send your video camera or your video feed. Multi-point means anybody up to 6 people who have webcams can then go in and send their video feeds. Do you allow people to take notes? Do you want closed captioning, which is nice because of the transcript that you have? It listens to the audio and it will allow you to put the closed captioning in at the bottom for people that are hearing impaired. Always nice. File transfer. Do you want people to be able to transfer files? And do you want the UCF file, which is the type of text document that they use? Do you want to be able to use that for the attendees? So these are just some things that you can do. And then, of course, there's the attendee privileges. What can your attendees do when the meeting begins? Can they save it? Can they print it? Can they annotate it? Can they see the other attendees? View thumbnails of some of the slides? Can they control the applications remotely? You can set this later on. And can they participate in private chat with the host, the presenter, or all attendees? Now here's where you can really make it good for you to get their attention. Instead of chatting with each other, boom, take that off. Now all they can do is talk with the presenter privately or the host privately. They can't privately chat, kind of pass notes under the desk in that virtual world, and that can kind of help out. It just depends on what kind of meeting you have. Sometimes if it's a standard meeting, hey, go ahead and let them chat privately if you want. Otherwise, anything they chat to other attendees is publicly seen by everybody, which is nice. So you can do that. So we go ahead and we click on this. It says, all right, here's all the required information. Here's the date and time. This is what's going to show up in the email, and as well as what your settings are. And then, of course, once you're done with that, you can say, good, let's schedule the meeting. Once that's done, you're good to go. All you have to do now is go to the WebEx page, click Start the CBT Nugget presentation, and we're good to go. And then meanwhile, Mr. CBT Nuggets is going to receive an email saying, hey, come on out and join this meeting on April 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And so the nice thing is if it finds out that his computer is on a different time zone, it will then automatically update for it. So pretty neat. You can add it to your calendar. You can click OK. You can edit it. Oh, wait, I didn't want to do that on that meeting. Go back in and make some changes. Easy to do just by clicking the edit. So we'll go ahead and click OK, and we've now scheduled a meeting. Now that's the way to do it from the interface if you want to do that. But watch this. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And down here, remember on our one click, if I double click it, you can start a scheduled meeting, start a meeting, those kind of things. But look at here, schedule meeting. Watch what happens when you have the productivity tools. If you click on this, what it's going to do, it's going to open up your email or calendar program. In this case is Outlook. You can go ahead and say, we're going to have a CBT Nuggets presentation. The location, whatever you do, start date, we'll say, is the 23rd at 10:30 a.m. right here. You click add the WebEx meeting to it. Once you do that, it will then bring it up and say, okay, you want to create a meeting on this particular date for people to attend, and it will then take that information, once you have it set up, ready to go, and it'll be placed in your email that you send up with this. And take a look. All these things that we saw are now part of it. So, what's the meeting password if you want it? No password needed. Do you want to use the WebEx audio, the entry? All those things that we did earlier on are now available for here. We click OK, and now your WebEx presentation will be set up. And you can change the settings, you can cancel it, and then you can go ahead and just save and close. And this is now going to be included on your email that will be sent out as an invite, as a calendar invite, and as well as it will be then in your Outlook under your calendar. Pretty cool stuff. And again, all of the other organizations like the Microsoft Live, the iLink, the Citrix GoToMeeting, those will have similar capabilities, maybe just in a little different place. You have to click a few different places, but I invite you, go check them out, and I think you're going to find this to be a tool that you will use on the cloud quite a bit. Now, as promised, I am giving you a list of some other web conferencing tools. And again, just to remind you, CBT Nuggets does not endorse any one of these over another. And there's obviously a whole bunch more out there that you can choose from. In fact, just do a Google search on web conferencing tools and, pick some out. But here are some of the bigger ones, the more well-known names that you will find. If your favorite is not on this list, I apologize. But for the most part, you're going to be looking at things like Citrix's GoToMeeting, very good stuff. Microsoft Live Meeting, I've mentioned, 2007 is the latest version. NetViewer Meet, I think it's now 6.0. iLink is running on version 10 or version 11 now. Adobe Acrobat Connect is also good. IBM Lotus Live Meeting. Fuse Meeting is another one that actually works with the iPhone. Many of these do, but I've actually used Fuse on an iPhone. And then Saba's Centra. Again, check out the web. Go to Google or your search engine, type in web conferencing tools. Well, we took a look at some really cool stuff here in the CBT Nugget. Number one, we talked a little bit about why we would want to use web conferencing. Hey, save some money. Get to use the bells and whistles that we have that technology has given us, like voice over IP, video feeds, desktop sharing, application sharing. And you can do this from the comfort of your own home. That's the power of cloud computing, isn't it? Then we took a look and did a demonstration of WebEx again, just to show you a little bit of how these would operate. And then we gave you a list of some other options that you can look at. But the best advice I've told to you already in the CBT Nugget, I'll say it again. Get out there, try these free demos, see which one fits for you, and I guarantee you, you won't go back to trying to do a conference call with boring PowerPoint. You're going to use all the cool stuff that you've got at your fingertips. I hope you enjoyed the training today, and I'd like to thank you for joining us.